everybody, and welcome back to another video. And if you're here for the very first time, you're really welcome. My name is Jane and my husband Mike is behind the camera. We're British, early retirees, debt and mortgage free, and living a thrifty, frugal and money saving life on a super tight budget here in Brittany in northwest France. And every Wednesday we normally invite you into the living room, but we've got work going on at the house at home. So we invite you into the car for a mid-week money chat. And this week is kind of an annual video that we make. And it's how much does it cost us to live here in Brittany in France? I need to start with a disclaimer. I can't tell you about the costs of living in Paris or Lyon or Nice or the Riviera, the south of France or any other area of France. I can't tell you how much it costs to live in my neighbour's house. I can't tell you how much it would cost to live if I lived in a different way. As I say at the beginning of every video, we are thrifty and we are frugal and we are money saving. And we budget, we have a super tight budget, which means at the beginning of every month, we know exactly where every penny is going to go. So we really do live on a tight budget. There's no loose ends to our budget at all. So it's about us. What does it cost us? We live in a 3-bedroom detached house with 2 bathrooms on a 2.5 acre plot in a beautiful rural part of Brittany in Department 29 of Finistère. So that's our circumstances and where we live. Let's get into the numbers. Let's start off by talking about the big expensive thing of food, of eating and drinking. We have a budget of €400 a month, so approximately €100 a week. And we find that enough. We don't eat extravagantly, we're not eating steak, we're not eating salmon, we're not drinking champagne, we're not drinking fancy wine, we're not buying boxes of chocolates, we're not going to the boulangerie and buying an artisan-made apple tart for €15. We're not doing that. I'm a home cook. We eat predominantly 3 meals a day at home every day, but we do eat meat, we do eat fish, we eat fresh fruit and vegetables. We can afford to buy bread from the local bakery. We can, on that budget, afford to shop in the local market and buy vegetables from the local supplier. That €100 a week covers everything. All our food, all our drink, all our toiletries, all our cleaning products, everything for all our laundry, absolutely everything. We find it enough, but like I said at the beginning of every video, we live on a super tight budget. So on that, I am looking for the best deals, I am looking for the best prices, I am looking for supermarket discounts, and I am also shopping in discount stores like Leclerc, Leclerc, or Netto and Lidl. So yeah, I'm quite keen on that, but we find that for us is enough. Next, let's talk about electricity. We do not have gas in our house. We do not have oil in our house. We just have electricity. The electricity heats our water. It cooks our food from, I would say, April through till the end of October, November time. And we obviously light our house and do our laundry. And that costs us currently €70 a month. We're on a budget plan payment where we're paying €100 a month because we've changed to a new tariff. But after that kind of settles itself down, we'll probably stick to a payment of €70 a month. Let's get on to property taxes. Our property tax for the house, called tax foncières, and that is €718 for the year. Get that bill in September. Then we have another bill which is for refuse, and that is €218 a year. So in total, if we add those together, That's €1,036 for property taxes and refuse and recycling, all of that for the year. Then we have home insurance. Now, we live in a very rural area. We don't have snowstorms, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have tornadoes, we don't have hot weather. It's very temperate, so we don't have any weather issues to deal with. We don't have earthquakes. We live where there's very, very little crime. Nothing much is going to happen to our house, and our property insurance for the house, for the barns, for everything, and that includes breakages and anything as well. So if we accidentally put a stone through the window, is €220 for the year. Let's talk healthcare costs. And this is going to be quite a long one, this one, healthcare costs. There's two ways that healthcare is paid for. One, we pay a social security payment every month. And then that's for something called a carte vitale. And then we have a top-up insurance called a mutual insurance. And our actual insurance that we pay is €50 each per month. Now, that's different than other people's insurances. There's nothing else to pay. There's no big lump sum to pay, so there's nothing more to pay. So, but it's not like the UK. The UK, you go to the doctors, you never pay. You never pay. Here, when you go to the GP, you pay €25. And then your insurance, part government, part mutual, gives you €17.50 back. The dentist costs €22, but you get money back. If you have a filling, it costs between €30 and €60, but you get money back. But some things cost nothing at all. So if you go for cancer screening, you go for a mammogram, you go for cervical cancer screening, those cost absolutely nothing at all. If you go to the hospital, it costs nothing at all. And I know people will be watching go, but this social medicine, is it a pile of rubbish? It is not a pile of rubbish. And I'm going to go through some anecdotal evidence of people very, very dear to me who've had some enormous health problems. So we have a dear, dear friend. He was not well. He was seen by his general practitioner that day. His general practitioner identified there was something very, very wrong with him. He was sent to the nearest hospital that afternoon. That hospital transferred him to a major hospital that day, and his cancer treatment started the next day. He had some form of blood cancer. We've had friends here who've had throat cancer, and they've had incredibly good treatment where they have been called back and back and back again. So they've just test and test and test, just to find them the tiniest bit of cancer that could be anywhere and treat them for it. We've had friends who've had mental breakdowns and have needed really, really loving and kind psychiatric care. And they've been able to sign themselves in and out of psychiatric clinics and quite long-term treatment. And when they've come out, they've had psychiatric help available to them. And it's been extraordinary to see how good it is. Mike and I have not needed any medical treatment. We cannot tell you from first-hand experience, but we've visited friends in hospitals. So, for example, a friend of ours had what we would call a knee replacement operation. Because he chose to. He went to the rehabilitation centre afterwards for 1 month. He had physical therapy every day, and by the end of the month he was just walking out the door like new. There was no bill to pay. So if a hospital, in the main, please leave me a comment below if you leave from France and say, well, actually, yes, I did have a bill. But in the main, there's level 1 and level 2 healthcare. If you go for the average level 2, where you just go into the local hospital, there is no fee. Me, for example, I can go for my well woman checkup with a gynecologist of my choice. I do not have to be referred there by my doctor, and I've chosen a very good gynecologist in a nearby city who specialises in treatment of women with menopause. And I just go to her whenever I want. There's no fee. There's no fee for medication as well. There is no fee for medication. There's no prescription charge. There's no worry. You do not have to worry. So if you have diabetes, it's called a long duration illness. You have no fees to pay for that at all. No fees to pay for that at all. And our medication is covered by our 2 insurances. Leave me a comment below if you live in France, if I've not been correct on that. I'm happy to be standard corrected, because I can only talk of anecdotal evidence of my experience and my close friends' experience. Let's now talk about the cost of heating our house. Now, we do not have a central heating system in our house. So I've had to go and use estimation from oil providers, and I went and looked at one, and for 1,000 litres of oil, which I think would run your central heating for most of the winter, if you were sparing with it maybe, was €1,308 for 1,000 litres of oil for the winter. Maybe you might need 1,500 litres, so halve that and add that again. But because we're thrifty people and we live in a very, very well insulated house, we have 2 wood burning stoves. We have a wood burning stove in our kitchen, which we also cook with. So it's October now, it's starting to get chilly. I think from November onwards, we will light our kitchen stove, and I will cook on that as well, which reduces our electricity bill all throughout the winter. And then we have a wood burning stove in our big main living area. And our wood, to keep us going to the state of toastiness, to the point that if it's too warm we have to open the windows, costs us €600 a year. So our heating for us costs us €600 a year. I estimated if it was oil, if we were cautious with it, it would be €1,300 for the year. Let's talk about the cost of running a car in France and keeping a car on the road, because we all need a car, don't we? We've only got one car, and we took the car for its annual service, and it cost us €180 for the annual service. We don't have any car tax or anything like that they have in like the UK, for example. We have something called a cart grease, where you buy the logbook that you pay for that. So when you buy a car, by the time they add extra stuff to it and you pay for it, it's a few hundred extra euros on top when you buy the car. Car tyres. A car tyre will cost about €100 each. And the system here is if you have a back tyre go, you have to have 2 new back tyres. If a front tyre goes, you have to have 2 front tyres. So car fuel, our car runs on diesel, and it is $1.86 a litre. And that transfers in US dollars to around about $6.50 a gallon. But ours is diesel, and our cars are incredibly economical to run. I think we probably get about 50 miles to a gallon, might we think?
Yeah, about 50 miles
about
to a gallon.
50 miles to a gallon. Car insurance. Car insurance works out at €564 a year that we pay at €47 a month. And that is quite high. I think that's quite high, but I think car insurance is high everywhere, isn't it? It is high everywhere. But our car insurance also includes breakdown and recovery. So if we're anywhere and anything happens with that, we just call our insurance company, and we have recovery and breakdown services. So they get us either home or to the garage, or if they can repair the car at the side of the road, they do that. So that is included in our €564 a year. Let's talk taxes. Taxes on income. Now, we are retirees, but we also earn some money from YouTube, and we have to pay tax on that. We have pensions, and they are taxed in the UK, but they are under the UK tax threshold. So we don't pay tax in the UK. Okay, so let's give you our circumstances. So Mike is registered as self-employed, something called a micro entrepreneur, and he is under the regime of a professional liberal. And for that, he has to pay 22% of gross income. Different jobs have different social security levels that you pay, but on average, it's about 22%. And that's of gross. 22% of gross. And that pays for healthcare if you're carte vitale. That pays for social security if you can't work or if you're sick. So if he's sick, he still gets some money. About 80% of income. Completely hasn't got any work at all. And again, that's 80% of your income for the same time last year. So that's that. And obviously, and French pensions, so that's 22% of that. Then we have income tax. Now, income tax, you're taxed as a family, as a couple, the household income. Here we do not pay tax on the first 9,000 we earn. So I have a tax threshold as well, so that's 9,000. So that's 18,000 of our income we're not paying taxes on. And then because he's self-employed, he gets a 33% that he doesn't pay any tax on as well. So that meant this year we haven't got any tax to pay. And because we've paid tax for the last 2 years, because they've taxed us, because we had lump sums from our UK pensions, they've given us a refund. And let's talk a bit about lump sums. So if you could be British watching this, you might think to yourself, I might want to move to France one day. Will I pay tax on a lump sum that I bring in? Okay. If you're like us and we've had government jobs, I was a teacher, Mike was a civil servant, those lump sums that you get in the UK are tax-free. However, if you bring them over to France and you're like us, you're working, it'll adjust your tax code. But so for 2 years, we have paid taxes for 2 years. And it was about 1,600 each year by the time they took all the taxes out of us because of the lump sums. However, if we weren't working and we just bought our UK government jobs tax-free lump sums over, we'd have paid nothing at all. Nothing at all. So, but if you do not have a government job, so I don't know, if you brought, say, a lump sum from another country, Australia, you brought a lump sum in, which was your pension lump sum from another country, those lump sums are taxed at different rates. I can go through anecdotal evidence of a friend who bought a small pension over the whole lot in a lump, and it was about 35,000 euros. They brought it all over it in a lump, and they were taxed about between 6 and 7% for that lump that they brought in. And some pensions are like that, aren't they? You bring a lump with you. So that's that. But on average, for average incomes in France, the tax that you pay is 14% of gross. So you add those together, that you've got 14%, add the 22%. However, like I said, there are all those tax allowances. If the more children you've got, the more tax allowances that you have. I think that sums up, as best I can, our own personal circumstances of what we pay in income tax. Let's talk about home phones, TV and internet. Now let's talk about the package that we have at home. We have one package with a company called Orange, but we have the online only version of Sosh, and it's both the same companies. So for our TV package, our home phone and our internet, it's €25 a month. The download speed on it is absolutely fine. The upload speed on it is useless. Absolutely useless. So we have a second package that we pay for with another company of Bouygues, and that's for a 4G package, which we've just got literally for uploading videos up to YouTube. And we pay 20 for that a month. So together, our internet and phones and TV and everything for the house is €45. We both have mobile phones, cell phones. We both have mobile phones. And for the pair of us, that is €35 a month. We get loads of data for that. We've got 120 gigabyte each of data a month, which I think is pretty good for the money that we pay. So I think our home phones, internet, TV, all of that, mobile phones, I don't think that's bad at all. Let me know what you pay where you are. Is that good? Is that rubbish? Seems okay to me. Now let's look at the costs of banking and credit cards. We have 4 bank accounts with our bank and we pay €12 a month for that. I don't think you can get free banking here. It's not something I've ever heard of. And then let's talk about credit cards. Credit cards here are different from credit cards in other countries. You can have a credit card, and I don't know whether there's a fee for that or not. Let me know. If you live in France and you have a credit card, you have a fee for that each month. But you can not run up a debt on it. You can use the credit card, but you have to pay it back each and every month. So you can't run a balance on it. Now you do not need a credit card here. You just need a debit card. And if you're worried about is it safe, we've had 2 quite large transactions that we've had to pay for recently for some work that's going on at our house, funnily enough. And when we use it, we get a message on our mobile phone, on our cell phone, which tells us to log on to our online banking and release the money. So literally something flashes up on the screen on our mobile banking saying, is this you? Are you trying to make this big transaction? And then you allow it to go through. We also have something called Virtualis, which means each and every time I can buy a pair of shoes for €30 online, and I use Virtualis, and that has a 2-step safety system as well. I'll get an SMS message on my phone, which basically means that I have to release the money each and every time. So it's a really, really safe system for shopping online. You don't need a credit card. You can book hotels, Airbnb, you can book ferries, all of those things, plane tickets, all of that with your debit card. Let's talk about hair and beauty and personal care, things like that. We have a hairdresser, a lovely little French lady who comes to our house and cuts our hair. She charges Mike €15 for a haircut. She charges me €18 for a haircut. And we give her a bit of a tip as well. I have my eyebrows waxed. I have my face waxed as well. And that comes to €22. And it's not normal to give a tip here, but I just always do. What we do tend to do here with tipping, it's not like it's 10% or 15% or anything like that. We just tend to round it up. Just round it up a bit, that's all. Beauty products here in France, most of them are made in France, aren't they? So things like La Roche-Posay, CeraVe, Avène, they're all made in France. They're not really expensive here. I can buy really good moisturisers for my face for like €15. I can buy really good face washes and things like €7.50. All our supermarkets have something called a parapharmacy, which is this part of the supermarket that sells everything from Clarins to Avène and really top quality beauty products that everyone seems to use here in abundance because they sell lots of it, and none of them are really expensive. Let's talk about clothing as well. Clothing is as much as you want to spend for it, and we are not expensive clothes wearers. We tend to get our clothes from shops like Decathlon or Intersport or places like that, which is sort of, I'm thinking of the clothes I'm wearing right now, just everyday, ordinary, middle-aged woman's clothing that I'll get there. A pair of jeans, €25, pair of shoes, €45, not expensive at all. We have a budget of €600 or €300. each a year for clothing is way more than we need. We haven't spent anything like that this year. I mean, if I was to buy a coat, it might cost me between like €75 and €100. But, you know, I buy a coat like every 3 or 4 years. So no, it's not. Obviously, it's as much as you want to spend on it. And don't forget, this video is about what it costs us. Let's talk about the cost of socialising, having a social life, getting out and about. Let's talk about, first of all, going out for lunches. And here, lunches are usually a fixed 3-course lunch. They'll bring you bread, they'll bring you salad, they'll bring you the starter, they'll bring you the main course, they'll bring you dessert and coffee afterwards. And that's somewhere between 15 and 20 euros. Our local restaurant is 20 euros now, but it's really, really good. We don't go very often. We went once last year. We might go again this year. Never know. We might go, mightn't we?
Might happen, yeah.
And then there are things like fitness classes. So things like Pilates or yoga is 10 euros a class. Lots of the cinemas around here, even our little town, little village has its own cinema. That's 5 euros for a cinema ticket. It might cost more in big areas. We're out and about in a national park today. It doesn't cost anything to park. It doesn't cost anything to go into the park. If you go and visit a chateau or somewhere like that, it might cost you about 10 euros each. If you go and you're someone's carer, or you're a student, or you're retired, it costs even less. If you go into a bar, a beer is about 5 or 6 euros. A glass of wine, depending if it's a small glass or a regular size glass, is between €1.50 and €2 and maybe a bit more. A cup of coffee is around €2. If you wanted, I would say we would go to the cafe and we would have a big coffee, a grand crème, so a large white coffee is about €2.50. So things like that we don't think cost very much at all. Let me know. What does it cost to go to the cinema where you are? What does it cost to go and sit down and have a meal or a coffee where you live? I don't know. Is that a lot of money? But like I said to you, we share what it costs us here. Let's talk about the cost of pets. We have 2 small dogs. One is young and one is old. We spend 70 euros a month on their food. That's a mixture of sort of dog meat in a can and dog biscuits, kibble we call it here as well. Then we don't have pet insurance. We choose not to have pet insurance. Our old dog is quite sick at the moment. She has quite bad problems with her ears and she's having quite a lot of medication. And each time we go to the vet at the moment, that and a checkup and a ear medication is about 75 euros for that. They are bichon frisé. They are professionally clipped. And for them to go to be professionally clipped, it is 50 euros for each dog. I mean, they might cost more if they were bigger dogs, but that's what they cost. It's 50 euros each dog for them to get their hair clipped. Well, I think I've covered just about all of our expenses. I can't think of anything that we pay for or have to pay for that I've missed out. But if you think I've missed anything out, or if you think you've got a question to ask me about what does this cost, Jane, or what does it cost me, then leave me a question below. You're very welcome to do that, and I will answer as best I can if I know the answer. Thank you so much for watching today. We really do hope that you found the video interesting or informative, or you liked it in any way. If you did, go on, hit that like button. If you're not a subscriber, we make 3 videos every single week and you don't want to miss those. Become a subscriber, hit the notification bell and you won't miss our videos. Thanks to everyone who leaves a comment. We read everyone. We answer your questions if you leave a question as best we possibly can. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.